Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to go over a few things of what I've been up to. First things first, as you know, if you've been following it on the group, I have decided I'm going to pull the engine out from the transmission just to give me basically more access. As I said in the group, I'm limited to my height above the car. You know, I've got a fairly small garage here, so that is out. I can't really lift it up to the amount that I'm going to need to clear the front radiator shroud. So obviously the next thing to do is to drop it and then drop it onto a cart and then raise the car and then pull it out the bottom. Now to do that on the 6.3, you have to remove the gearbox, the steering gearbox, which I've done, but on the other side there's an idler arm pivot point for the steering on the subframe. And if you want to drop the engine, that manifold has got to come off on that side, and then of course the manifold bolts are all rusty, and for fear of breaking them, that's kind of backed me into a corner as well. So where these two jobs collide, as in I've got to repair this wheel arch here, this inner wheel arch, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do about that. And also this radiator shroud is all rotten here anyway. Yeah, all this area is rotten. The lap point here is all rotted away. What I've decided to do is to remove this radiator surround along with the inner wheel arch. I'm going to remove that and use the one off of that 108 that we grabbed the other week, because the rest of the car has been picked clean and there's some rust issues on it, and it's kind of not something that's really that salvageable. I guess someone could, but no one's going to really buy it in that state. So I'm going to go ahead and scavenge the inner fender from that one and spot weld it onto this guy. And so I've got to remove the radiator shroud. I can break the connection to the inner arch on the other side, and that gives me a huge area at the front of the car to remove the engine, essentially pulling it out the front. So that kills two birds with one stone. So today what I've been doing is removing all of the pieces of equipment that's down here in this wheel arch area. There's the fuel filter housing, there's the denatured alcohol canister, various hoses and connections. Obviously we've got the trunk latch cable here, and I've been taking pictures of everything as I go. And what I do intend to do with the motor once it's out, obviously I can clean it and check it, do all the valves, check the valves. I want to run a test on the fuel injection pump and then check that all the injectors are clean. I don't want to get deep in the engine. I'm not going to start pulling heads off. I was able to get the records from the garage that last serviced this car. It was over 10 years ago, but it's only done 2,500 miles since the last service. And the only thing they noted was one of the cold start valves was leaking. The engine was apparently running sweet. So I'm not going to start digging into the motor. I'm going to repair the cold start valve. Normally it's that little seal at the back there. And then what I want to do is to make a framework to set the engine on and do a test outside of the bodywork, because I'm not going to stick the engine back in and keep fingers crossed. We want to address any issues on the outside of the car. So any tips that you might have for me to do that, that'd be awesome. So that's me rabbiting on for a bit. So let me get on and bring the camera down and I'll show you what I'm going to do and we'll get started. What we decided before, I'm going to alter a little bit, because here's my thought on this. I want to keep as much of the original in as possible. Okay, so we've got really good spot welds all through here. Okay, the only bit of damage on this lower panel in this area is this here. Okay, all of this metal I will clean and make sure is good. Okay, so my thought is to break this patch, this repair, into a few different sections. This has spot welded here, and then along here, this box section here. So break this here. That will give me access to this patch here, you see, on the inner wheel arch. And then because this is spot welded to the inner wheel arch in here, take this out and we want a natural join line, you see. So this corner is a natural join line. So on the other car, what I can do is make the cut along here up to this point here, because you can see there is a lap from the factory there. So what we're doing, we'll replace this section first. That will take care of all this business. Okay. We'll obviously got to make sure the locations of the nut receiving nuts are in the correct position, but we're using an original, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. As you can see, the other car, it's got a decent wheel arch on the inside here. This is nice and crisp, all factory. We can relieve these spot welds here, make the brake here, make the cut up top here, relieve this section out, and oh, here we are. This is the little area. See, that's a nice crisp factory seam there. That's what I want to see on the other one. And obviously this doesn't have the air tank bracket. And then you can see these series of spot welds that are holding the radiator surround on. And we might nab this radiator surround, because mine's all rotted completely out, and just take this whole radiator surround out of this car. So that's the plan anyway. I'm making adjustments to the plan as I'm working through this, and you know, to keep the level of work down and to make it as close to factory as possible. Okay, yeah, again I changed my approach, because drilling these guys out, well, not only is it time consuming, the main concern is that tearing metal from behind. I started to experiment down here on this lower area, and it started to tear the back metal, and I don't want that. So there's a second plan, is to cut this whole panel out, leaving all of this undisturbed on the original car. So what I did, I used this natural body line like we did on the other wheel arch, so I can weld along here. So I've made a cut all along here, all through this plate, and I've stepped it here because I want this box area here to be used on the other car. Okay, we're going to cut on the inner where this natural curve is all the way along, so I can then salvage this whole piece out, you see. And also I should be able to get in here with a welder on the other car pretty easy, and then sand this and get this all really nice. Okay, so we cut that panel out. We were able to salvage this little flange box unit here. I cut around the support beam here, the shock support, and I cut along the natural edge on the inside of the body. Okay, and what we're going to come in afterwards to do is we're going to take this section out, cut down, probably come along here just shy of the radiator support up here, you see. So we're going to cut all the way down to here, and then take this whole section out along with the radiator support, and we'll use this radiator support on the 6.3, because the 6.3 one is all rotted out anyway, all rotted out here. So I'm going to keep this join, because that's a great reference point, and then all we've got to do is break it from here. And what I might do on this side, see, they did this ugly patch here. I'm thinking we'll do the same thing. We'll cut here across and across here, and then we can just marry the whole thing up. It's kind of a tricky little thing, because obviously you've got to make sure all these holes line up, the latch on the radiator and everything lines up. So let's get what we're first things first is, now I've cut this area out. Now I've cut much higher than I need to and much shorter than I need to. Our new patch is going to come to about here and here, okay, and also it's going to go along this line. I just wanted to cut it out, see what we're dealing with, and I'm going to repair the patch as well, because a few things got tweaked in its removal. So that's going to go up there like that, and see where we drilled out earlier, and I decided to abandon that. That started to tear the back metal a bit, so I'm going to repair this patch, make this look all spiffy and nice before we do any more. So we'll get all this tidied up. This god-awful patch that someone welded in here is again the same thing that they've been doing all along. It's just slapping patches over holes. Now if you come on the inside, there's the hole, believe it or not, and I can see the rusty bit of metal on the other side. Literally they've had some damage here, just some surface damage, and they've just chucked a great big patch over it. So that we will address. Then I'm going to cut this off, take this bracket off, so we can address this mess here. And it might be an idea to just get it out of the way anyway, and that come in last, and we can remount the tank here and get our reference point back pretty easy. So I'll be taking pictures of all this just to get the approximation of where it's going. And this is my rough line where I'm going to cut out here, so we can replace all of this along with the radiator shroud. Then we keep our 3 holes. We don't have to drill new holes because of the air suspension tank feeder lines. And then you see, I'm glad we're going this way, because then I'm not disturbing all that nice metal there that's undisturbed. All the spot welds are undisturbed all the way along there. And then so a little adjustment of thought, but that's where we're at right now. Okay, this is the piece we just cut out. Let me give you a little look at that. As you can see, all the horrible rot on the top there, that horrible patch again, and there's the inside. See, surface rust forming on in there. Not too bad in the cavity, I guess, for a 50-year-old car, but we'll take the opportunity to clean this cavity up before we weld it up. Clean it all up. After I'm welded, I'll fill it up with the frame coating. I won't do like I did on the bumper iron, because we frame coated it and welded, and of course it was constantly catching fire on the inside. So we'll get all our welding done and we'll inject it. So kind of a lot of, this is probably one of the fussiest patches, but we'll get it. I mean, we're lucky enough to have that donor car for this patch, which is making it a lot easier. Okay, what we're going to do now is tidy this panel up, make all the corrections I need to make, fill back in these holes. I've decided to keep this plate as a perfect reference point for the shock mount. I'll crunch that back on there. It's only separated very slightly. I will push that back on there and respot that weld, or rosette weld I should say. So that will be good for that, and then we can just run a bead weld along here to attach it to the original bracket. I accidentally, when I was cutting from the other side, I sliced through this panel. I can easily weld that up. These are obviously all the mount holes. They're great for my reference again. So I'm not going to fill the welding. You've seen all that before. So I'm just going to weld this up, make it good, and then go on to the next stage. I cut the bracket off for the air tank. That was in the way because this tosh up here someone's done before. I wanted to cut this patch out, this horrible botched patch here, because this is kind of intersecting with my patch here, you see. So I need to remove this. This I'm keeping. I'll clean all this up. Keeping this. Removing this, which is lapped onto the inner fender. But to remove this, I have to get this patch out, which was horrible anyway. So, and then of course that leads on to the inside of the car. And then of course the bracket that holds the main air valve is right over the top of that patch. Plus, I don't know whether you can see in there, there's some rot underneath where moisture is held behind this bracket. So I busted that weld open, and what I may do, just for so I've got reference of location, I may make a cut along this bracket, so then obviously we know where it's got to go, because this is the base of the bracket. So if I do a cut line straight there, then I can weld it back into the same position. Plus it's out the way. So I'm on the inside now trying to repair this crappy patch. So that's not a big deal. I'll just cut that out and I'll make a tracing of that. Get that, and then I can start building my way outwards, getting this in. Once that's all tacked in, I probably won't tack this end because then this one laps onto this. So it's just a question of step by step, but it's coming along slowly but surely. Just being cautious that you don't cut too much metal off, and taking measurements constantly. I've got my reference point of the, you can't really see it there, there's a nut there, the first nut, and that is 6 11/16 to the center of the next nut. This is the true cut now. This is where our panel will go. Let me just roughly put that in for you and you'll see where we're at. I cleaned this panel up, made a few repairs of it, so this is going to go right there like that, you see. That'll get welded in. I haven't cut this lower section yet because I want to be able to line it up on the inside. You can see all our fresh metal here, and then the metal we're going to have to cut away. Now we've cut that patch out, I keep wanting to try and stop this video and say goodbye to you guys, but I keep finding new things. So we've cut this patch out. We pulled out this piece of metal. I've got to be able to separate this flange piece from this parent metal here, right? But on inspection, it's got a bit of rust here, but also what I noticed, lo and behold, if you see here, two pieces of metal again. Mr. Slap a patch on has hit again, and so I didn't even notice that until now, and you can see just where he's welded along here. He's just slapped it here. There's been, looked like a split repair done there. But anyway, this patch, I'm going to have a lot of trouble, I think, separating this from that. And I don't know yet. I'm going to have to brainstorm it. But what I'm half thinking of doing is possibly replacing all this section, so then we've got clean metal to but you know, lap over to, because this is getting a little messy here. This is really crappy here. We've got to do something about that, but I'm not sure yet. I'm gonna have to think on it for a while and see what the best approach is. So because this is really kind of gone right up to here, this might need cutting out and just fresh metal put in and kind of start again, I suppose. Okay, so this is the patch I cut out from behind. Let's see. Yeah, this is on the inside of the car, and the air bracket, you know, for the main air valve was sitting right over this, and they had various little holes. I'm assuming that they wanted to repair, and they didn't want to get involved going on the inside, so of course he did the same old thing. I found a lot on this car. Let's open it up. Just slinging a patch over the top. I'm not going to be able to pull it right apart, but you get the idea. I'll pull it apart so you can see. So anytime you see these patches on the car, I know it's kind of freaky to be cutting metal out, but you're better off doing it. Look at all that. If you can see, make sure the focus there, you can see it's just a complete rust trap waiting to happen. You know, that's just a question of years, and then it will work its way out. So I'm glad I got rid of that. And again, very minor damage that he was repairing. There may be stuff hidden under this paint maybe, but anyway, so that's gone now. And because I had to just hack it out and cut it out, what I'll do is I'll do a tracing, you know, of the hole, clean up the hole, do a tracing, and just weld a new patch in there nice and flush again. Okay, that's it for the day. I think I'm going to break this repair up into several videos just because of how complicated it is. What I've learned on this patch particularly, that things are constantly changing. You've got an idea, you know, my first idea, as I've told you, is to take that whole inner fender out. But really, you know, when I started drilling out the spot welds on the donor car, I realised that the amount of work to do that, and also you're disturbing metal that is perfectly fine, really. I mean, if the whole panel came out real easy, it'd be one thing, but it's not an easy task to drill those out. And also the risk of damaging the metal behind is very high. You know, you can end up tearing things and buggering it right up. So I changed my tact and then did a more targeted patch, you know, so we assess exactly what we can keep and what has to go, and then just target right in. We do have to go through a few layers because of the bad patches before, but you know, it is what it is. And so we're keeping track of measurements, lots of photographs. Like I say, I've got other cards that I can reference, and obviously got the fenders for hole alignment. And once we get that tack welded in, I will mount the fender loosely, bring the hood down and make sure we got alignment. Yeah, this is going to be at least 2 or 3 videos, but I think we accomplished a decent amount today. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Please hit subscribe and the like button if you like what you see, that is, and take care. Bye bye.